Welcome back, everybody, to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I have the pleasure to be joined by my good friend Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com. And today we're going to talk about the AFC Championship game matchup between Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Chiefs Kingdom, we have reached the AFC Championship game, and along with that comes one of the best quarterback matchups in all of football. Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow have been two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this year. And I would argue to say that whenever they face off against each other, we see fireworks. And unfortunately for the Chiefs, the last three meetings between the Chiefs and the Bengals have not gone in Patrick Mahomes' favor. But this is their chance to right those wrongs and finally get over the hump and beat the Bengals in the playoffs. But Josh, what are your initial thoughts of this game? Do you think that Joe Burrow is going to march into Burrowhead and take down the Chiefs? Or do you think that Patrick Mahomes, even on one ankle, could fight back and show everybody what he's got?
Man, you're putting me on the spot early, aren't you?
I am.
You know, Joe Burrow, Patrick, like you can't go wrong picking either one, really. And I know Chiefs fans that listen to this probably don't want to hear me say that. They want to hear me say, oh, it's got to be Patrick Mahomes. He's going to go in there and he's going to dominate on one leg, and Joe Burrow is going to get bashed into the ground. And as much as I would love for that to happen, Joe Burrow has stood tall to the opportunity every single time he's faced the Chiefs. So you have to give him a little bit of credit. You have to take him into consideration. But I'm very confident that Patrick Mahomes, even with his ailing ankle injury, he can go toe-to-toe with Joe Burrow. Or I guess I should say Joe Burrow can go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. I think you get the point.
Yeah, I thought you were trying to make a joke there, and I was like, well, I'm going to wait for him to finish this. But, yeah.
Well, I see, the reason I paused for a second is because when I say Patrick Mahomes going toe-to-toe with Joe Burrow, it makes it seem like I think Joe Burrow is the superior quarterback, which I obviously don't think that. So I kind of had to rephrase.
Well, it's good that you clarified that, because if you've watched any NFL talk show this weekend, you've probably heard somebody say something along the lines of, oh, if Joe Burrow wins this game, he would be 2-0 against Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game in Mahomes' house. Therefore, he's a better quarterback, throwing out entire bodies of Patrick Mahomes' work. I don't understand how that's even possible. But, I mean, this is going to be a legacy game for Patrick Mahomes. Right now, Joe Burrow is 3-0 against Mahomes. He's the only quarterback that's beaten him 3 consecutive times. And I don't think that we can give Joe Burrow all of the credit for that, but in the games that they have played, he's played exceptional football. And Patrick Mahomes definitely hasn't not played exceptional football, but I'm looking at the stats right now. Joe Burrow has a passer rating of 121 with 982 yards and 8 touchdowns, only throwing 1 interception in the last 3 games of the regular season, including the playoffs against the Chiefs in his career. And if we go to Mahomes' stats, Patrick Mahomes has a passer rating of 107.3 with 1,115 yards, throwing for 10 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in really 4 games against the Bengals. But in the last 3, he's been exceptional as well. So both these quarterbacks put up a bunch of numbers, but it's just like Burrow has made fewer mistakes.
Yeah, and then in this conversation, you have to kind of consider that some of those stats coming from those games where Mahomes played the Bengals. We had the 2018 matchup where the Bengals didn't even have Joe Burrow yet, and the Bengals were horrible. They were one of the worst teams in the league that year. Obviously, it's a way different team from then.
Of course, and now I'm looking at it. A lot of those stats did come from that first matchup. And to put it into perspective, the Chiefs had Kareem Hunt on the roster when they played the Bengals in 2018. But, you know, it's interesting to see kind of how much the media is discounting Patrick Mahomes. I think Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. There's no way to discount what he's done with the Bengals, who, let's be honest, they were kind of the joke of the NFL. But he's got them into a serious contender. But if you just watch Patrick Mahomes play football, I mean, you just know he's special. And you know Joe Burrow's special too, but I really do think that Patrick Mahomes is going to come into this game even on one leg and show up and show out.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very confident in Patrick Mahomes. being able to duel with Joe Burrow on that injury, as I've said many times. Patrick Mahomes, he's put up numbers against the Bengals every time he's played them, actually, but those interceptions that he had in fourth quarter and overtime in the last year's AFC Championship, those were backbreakers, and you just can't have those. And Joe Burrow, he has not been as prolific as Patrick Mahomes say in these matchups, but he doesn't make those kind of mistakes. He doesn't throw picks. He's very good football IQ. We talked about it before, how he gets the ball out very quickly, and that's what makes him so hard to defend. It's not like he has elite arm talent or anything like that, but he's accurate and he's smart.
He's very similar to Tom Brady. And I know that some Chiefs fans kind of laugh when I say that, but think about it. Joe Burrow might not have the physical traits that Patrick Mahomes does, but he can get the ball out quicker than anybody, and he's pinpoint accurate. So I do see a lot of similarities between Brady and Burrow, and you could also point to the similarities of just beating Mahomes. Like, it is really impressive that Burrow and his squad have been able to take down Mahomes, not one time, not two times, but three times, and they're trying to make it four times. And I know, Josh, we've talked about this probably to people's sickness. We could not stomach another loss to this Bengals team. I mean, the narrative that would be pushed after the game, win or lose, could be just ridiculous. And I worry to see what that narrative would be like if Patrick Mahomes, even if he plays a good game, but he loses to Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I said when we first learned of this matchup and we did a video on it, I was like, there's going to be some nasty narratives coming out of this if the Chiefs not only lose the AFC Championship game again, because they would have a losing record in the AFC Championship game with Patrick Mahomes, they also would have lost to the same quarterback, the same team for the second year in a row in the AFC Championship. So that's what makes this game a must win. Like, obviously it's a must win because it's the AFC Championship, but it's just so much more important because of all those reasons. And I even saw a tweet today from fairly popular NFL Twitter account, Scott Kaxmer. He said, elephant in the room, in 5 seasons as starter, Patrick Mahomes would already have the most home championship game losses in NFL history, which is 3. Now, this was a bad tweet because he said, he was pointing out that Patrick Mahomes would have the most home championship game losses in NFL history, which, yes, would be true, but it's also a way of him discrediting the fact that Patrick Mahomes has already been in 5 home championship games in his career. It's discrediting the greatest 5-year start for a player in NFL history. Now, both of those things can be true.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy how we've normalized greatness. What Patrick Mahomes has done is something that we might never see again. It's a Brady-esque kind of run. In fact, I saw some stat, or maybe it was a picture on Twitter, where they were showing all of the previous AFC Championship games and who was in the games. From like 2010 to 2015, it was like Brady, 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 Brady. And since 2018 on, Mahomes has been in there every single time. So, yes, he is doing something that we've never really seen done before. And to play these games at home is so crucial, but you got to find a way to get it done. Joe Burrow is to Patrick Mahomes what Peyton Manning was to Tom Brady. I guess Tom Brady was to Peyton Manning. We need to make sure that Patrick Mahomes has his best chance to win this game, because I don't know if I could stand Joe Burrow winning this game. And I like Joe Burrow. I think he's a talented player, but I just don't know if I want to know the repercussions of him winning this game.
Yeah, I can't. I don't want to think about that possibility, even though I know it could be. There's a very good chance of it happening. Joe Burrow has been very good against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs defense has been easy to pick apart for him. And I saw a stat on Twitter as well that the Chiefs actually allowed the most passing yards this season to the Bengals out of any other opponent. And I expect that number to come down a little bit, but I still think this Bengals offense is going to be able to pass on the Chiefs a little bit. Now, I'm very confident that actually Patrick Mahomes can match what Joe Burrow does, if not outperform him, because the injury is unfortunate. And I don't want to say it's an advantage or a blessing in disguise or anything like that, but it may force the Chiefs offense to operate more efficiently and operate in a way that best suits playing the Bengals defense. They're going to be running the ball. The offense will be more balanced. Patrick Mahomes will probably be forced to stand in the pocket a little bit more and not run around so much. And Patrick Mahomes, I saw a stat actually on Twitter as well that the Chiefs are 12-0 when Patrick Mahomes throws 90% of his passes from within the pocket. So the Bengals can try and blitz him. He's going to beat the blitz. We know what Mahomes does to the blitz, and they may try to blitz him because of the ankle. Or they might back off a little bit and drop guys into coverage. But if Mahomes is limiting himself because he knows he has that ankle injury, he might just stand in the pocket and dice up that Bengals defense.
Which I would love to see. And one thing that I want to point out is that when Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow face off against each other, I don't think that they're that far off in terms of like performance. Now, a lot of people see the 3-0 Burrow stat line of victories to Patrick Mahomes 0, and they're like, oh, Burrow outperformed Patrick Mahomes. But I don't necessarily believe that's the case. Now, Mahomes has thrown some costly interceptions down the stretch, which ultimately resulted in a couple of those games getting away. But again, their stat lines are so similar. It really just comes down to, who's the better overall team and who makes the last mistake. And unfortunately, the Chiefs have made the last mistake a lot, and the Chiefs need to correct that in this game, because if Patrick Mahomes plays mistake-free football on a bum ankle, the Chiefs will win this game. I don't care how well that Joe Burrow plays. Patrick Mahomes, when he's playing his best football, doesn't lose. I've yet to see an example of it. I just don't believe in it. I think if he plays like the kind of MVP that he is, Joe Burrow can have a phenomenal game, but it won't matter because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and if you look at the stats from last year's AFC Championship game that the Bengals won, Joe Burrow was 23 of 38 for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He had a QBR of 60.8 and a passer rating of 86.5. That was not great. That's why I always say that the Chiefs more so gave that game away than the Bengals won it. And you look at the Chiefs and what Patrick Mahomes is even despite his terrible fourth quarter and overtime, or really second half as well, 26 to 39 for 275 and 3 touchdowns, but the 2 interceptions costly. If the Chiefs can clean up the mistakes and Mahomes doesn't throw 2 interceptions in this game, you got to feel pretty good about your chances, because the Chiefs only lost that game by 3.
And that's what it's going to come down to. I really think that the last quarterback to touch the football in this game was probably going to win it, because if you've looked at the point differential in all 3 games, the Chiefs have lost by a combined total of 9 points, a field goal in every single game. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think every time the last team that touched the ball won the game. I literally think that's the case. So as long as the Chiefs don't shoot themselves in the foot, and more specifically, as long as Patrick Mahomes is playing his style of football and taking care of the football, I really do think that he can beat Joe Burrow. The narrative that he can't beat Joe Burrow, I think, is foolish, just because.
Well, it's also just unfair to each quarterback, because it's not like they play defense against each other. Joe Burrow didn't beat Patrick Mahomes. He beat the Chiefs. Now, narratives will still come from the game, because that's what happens when you have a matchup like this. But it's not Joe Burrow beating Patrick Mahomes. It's Joe Burrow beating the Chiefs.
Exactly. They're not on the field at the same time, so it's kind of hard to beat each other. But I do think that you can compare their stat lines and compare the way that they impacted the game and kind of draw a conclusion as to who played better and who is more important to their team. But this is going to be a hell of a matchup. I do think that we're going to see this AFC Championship game a lot more in the next 10 to 15 years. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the same thing next year. But the important thing is that Patrick Mahomes comes out, shows the entire world that he is the MVP, because a lot of people are doubting this man. They're saying that he's done. He can't beat Joe Burrow. He's on a bum ankle. It's over. And I'm telling you, that is a foolish mistake. He is going to come out in this game whether you like it or not, and give it his all. And Patrick Mahomes playing pissed off football and giving everything that he's got, it's going to be like the 2021 divisional round against Buffalo. You could kind of see in that game that he was not going to die. He was not going to quit. And we saw the result in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that's the case, because I almost feel like a little bit that in the 2021 AFC Championship game that the Chiefs maybe burnt out a little bit after that Buffalo game. Maybe that's why you could explain the second half. We'll never know for sure what happened or why that happened, but we can at least come up with some ideas. And one of them might have been that divisional game was just so big and such a big deal, and it took everything the Chiefs had, a perfect offensive performance to win that game. And, the postseason, that's tough, man. I mean, just playing so many games under so much pressure.
It really is, but Chiefs can kind of correct all of those previous mistakes by winning this game. And if they win, they'd advance to Super Bowl 57 down in Arizona. So, Josh, that's really all I had to talk about in this video. Do you have anything you want to add?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I'll add one more thing. I think that Patrick Mahomes really has something to prove in this one. Not that wasn't already obvious, but he's got to go out there and beat the Bengals just to shut everybody up. Like, I'm tired of hearing about the Bengals. I'm tired of hearing about the whole Joe Burrow and the Arrowhead ownership and all that stuff. Like, go out there and shut them up about that crap.
And I think that definitely he's capable of doing it on one ankle or not. Patrick Mahomes is that guy, and I think that we are going to see an MVP-like performance on Sunday, even with the elements. So, Josh, that's really all I had to say in this video. Do you have any place that people can find you at?
Yes, you can find me on my channel, Josh Fan, just my name. You can also check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com, and then follow me on Twitter at showmefb.
All of his stuff, guys, will be linked in the description of this video. As for me, subscribe to this channel for more Chiefs news. Go ahead and check out the website, kcsportsreport.com. The social medias, Instagram, KC_sports report, and Twitter at KC Sports Report. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video, and go Chiefs.